I was first starting out with this whole process of getting well, I was completely unaware of, did I need help? What is getting help versus helping myself? How do I catch this early? Because I don't want it to progress beyond a certain point. And because I didn't know some of these things, it did progress, farther than I would have wanted. So I think that's a big questions that I go through, because a lot of people might just don't know how to do this, don't know how to do that, really process that.
Absolutely. And that's such a good question of, do I need help? What do I have? Is this real? Is this in my head? Well, and the reality is mental health is in our head. That's where it comes from. It's our brain. And sometimes our brain isn't functioning at its full capacity, just like any other organ of the body, like we were talking about earlier. I also want to note that there's a lot of pressure people put on themselves of, I should know what's wrong with me. But if you, let's say, woke up, didn't feel well, sore throat, achy body, you may assume maybe I have a sore throat, but then you go to the doctor and get tested and it's not sore throat. You've got the flu. You go to the doctor and you get tested for things and it's something different. It's not what you expected. And that can be true for mental health too. So if you are struggling, I think the key is, do you feel in control? Can you right turn the day and kind of go like, you know what, I was a little low, but let me do a few things, take care of myself, and now I feel a little better. Focus on your tests, focus on concentration. When you have certain goals, certain values, I want to make these grades or I want to take these classes, and you're not able to follow through with that, like who I want to be and what I value to do, I'm not able to follow through with that. That's not what I want. Mental health is the brain operating in a way where we're not choosing that. I'm not choosing depression. I'm not choosing anxiety. So when you feel that lack of control, that means there's something else going on physically in the body that's going on, just like you were if you were to be sick. And you may need more help. And that help can be counseling. Counselors are the ones who sit with you, talk with you for an hour, once a week, ongoing care. Psychologists are the ones who do testing, are the ones who are going to do a battery of tests and give you diagnoses or be able to write out a report that you may need for school, for work, or for disability. And then psychiatrists are the ones who are medical doctors who can prescribe medication. Most people don't know the difference between the three. That's why I went into detail about that. But you may just need a counselor just to create some coping skills, new thought patterns, new mindset, have an understanding. This is true very much for anxiety. Anxiety is a disorder of the brain that is the most foundation to how we function. Cortisol is the stress hormone. We need cortisol to function. The proper level of cortisol makes us feel productive, gives us the energy throughout the day, and it's in a cycle with melatonin, where melatonin is increased in production more at night to help us wind down, go to sleep, not have the racing thoughts at night. And then cortisol is produced in the morning to wake us up, make us feel productive, make us feel like we can get up, right? And so there's a cycle of melatonin and cortisol, and sometimes that cycle can be thrown off. And so that's why some people stay up at night, feel more groggy in the morning. I digress though. Anxiety, we need it. Anxiety is what makes us jump when there's a danger nearby. If someone were to slam on our brakes in front of us, do we react in a timely manner to protect ourselves from hitting that car? That is our anxiety pathways and our systems of perceiving and watching for danger in our environment and responding accordingly. But the diagnosis of anxiety is when it goes too far, when it goes too high. I'm anxious all the time. I'm hyper vigilant, looking for danger in an uncharacteristic way of my environment. So if I'm sitting in a classroom trying to learn this math thing from the teacher, my brain is constantly scanning the environment rather than focusing on the material in front of me. And that can often look like ADHD. I'm a little hypervigilant. I have a hard time sitting still. I'm more impulsive. I have a hard time focusing. Those are all anxiety symptoms. So a lot of teens may be like, oh, I have ADHD. Let me take a stimulant, adding fuel to the fire of anxiety, making anxiety worse. So that's another thing of why you need to see someone. That's why you need to have an assessment to determine, is this anxiety or is this ADHD? Because the treatment is very different. And then depression, I think, is the most diagnosed and underappreciated diagnosis out there. And what I mean by that is if someone's having a bad day or sad, they'll use the word depression. I have depression today or whatnot. So it's a key word that isn't seen as serious as it really is. And it doesn't have very much respect behind it. So if someone truly has clinical major depression disorder, you're just having a bad day. Oh, you'll bounce out of it. And so it's this mindset around it that makes us downplay the seriousness of depression, where depression is where the brain isn't producing the hormones the body needs. Dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine are the big three of depression. And when those aren't produced, like if your favorite thing in the world is fishing, with depression, the idea of I've got to get my tackle box out, I've got to drive there, I've got to be on the lake and it's going to be hot. Everything about it feels hard, heavy, work. Before it was like, I cannot wait to get out on the lake. That's one of the big warning signs that I look for to determine, is this just angst or is this truly depression? And then who you are is different. So mental health, depression is a liar. It lies to you about who you really are. I can't make friends. No one will care about me. It doesn't matter how I feel. All of these really heavy thoughts come with depression because dopamine, our joyful hormone, isn't being produced in the quantities that we need. And so everything feels harder, heavier, and impossible. And so our thought process follows in turn. And so let's say you have depression and you get diagnosed with that, you get on medication. Well, that's not the only intervention that you need with something like depression, because now you've gotten the habit of that negative mindset. So even though your hormones and your body may be responding really well to the medication, it's just going to bring you down every day. And so let's get the brain working and let's get the mindset right too. And so usually these two things in tandem really work well together. And it doesn't mean you have to be on medication forever. It doesn't mean you have to be in therapy forever. It is something that we kind of ebb and flow. We check in.